Last time you were probably here, we were probably set up by year. 64 and a half to 73, 79 Foxes, and 94 and up. So that worked fine if you wanted to go look through the chronological order, yeah, absolutely. But when you had a Hurt Shelby here and a Hurt Shelby over there and a Hurt, now you got to say, the one over there and the one over there. So my daughter actually said, hey, why don't you group the cars? And I said, why don't you come down and help me move everything? Right? So that's what we did. We did it one summer, and you gotta plan it out, right? So that's what we did. We ended up grouping them, and then Marcy from SVT, right? So she actually designed and made those banners. So everyone is kind of unique. Like the official pace car, like the 13 MIS car. It's the only one they ever made, right? So she put that, took pictures, put it up on the poster and that kind of stuff. Some of the other ones, the Daytona one, we'll talk about, that's got the glass roof. Mine's actually the prototype that's a convertible. So she did that. And then Kevin, Marty, I called Kevin, and in fact, he's in town this week. You'll see him probably tomorrow and Sunday. So he was down there yesterday, but so I said to him, and Marcy blew him up and made the Marty reports. I said, hey, how big do we need to make these things, right? So I can see them from the front of the cars. And he goes, 36 by 54. That's, you're about 20 feet. I said, okay. So we get them in, and we start putting them up. And I'm going like this, and I'm going, I can't read that. So I called Kevin. I'm like, hey, I made them 36 by, I can't read them from the front of the cars. He goes, oh yeah, you're over 40, aren't you? Okay, touche. So for us over 40, you got to walk in between the cars and look at them. If you're young, then you can look at them. So the next time I'd probably make them 54 by 70 or something like that. But
that'll be in Braille.
Yeah, right. So let me tell you. So we'll tell you about the cars, and you know cars, right? So Cobra R's are the first group. 93, 95, 2000, that's a 15R, right? So I consider it part of the R group. But the 93, I just rolled over 1,100 miles on that. Last year I rolled over 1,100. But it was 600 about 8 years ago. This one, the 95's got 1,100. This one's got 3,000 miles on it. It does now. I just put its 300 miles on it this year and put it back in its place. So try and drive them 300, clean them up, change the oil every 600 miles or whatever, put them back in their spot and go on to the next one. The 15R, we made, 37 of those, I think, and there's 36 left. One of our friends was up at Road America with it and wiped out and totaled the car out and stuff. But you'll see, in fact, Sean Kiernan was here yesterday, and he goes, hey, what happened to your car down there? And I said, so the car was brand new. It had like 30 miles. I'm driving it to work, and I'm behind this truck, and this cinder block falls off. And I watch it go like this, and you go to turn out of the way, and I'm thinking I'm going to run over this cinder block, right? Didn't run over anything. And it goes by me, and I'm like, well, that was interesting. Okay, so it missed the car. So I get to work, I'm looking at the tire, can't see anything wrong. What it did was it took out this piece, it missed this, hit that, and went that way. So this was all busted out. So I bought one of those, and I went to go put it on, and I had like 6 hours in it trying to get this one piece on. You got to take everything off underneath, get it, So I'm going through the workshop manual, and it doesn't make sense. There's more stuff to take off or do something or whatever, and I can't get that thing off, and I can't get it on. So the department that does workshop manuals was under me. So I called those guys over, and I'm going, hey, listen, I'm trying to do this. I can't do it. Well, what they forgot was there's a special tool, and it's really not. It's a special tool, but if you have a body shop, you have it. It's just a $2 piece of plastic wedge thing. And he goes, no, you need this, and here's how you take them out, put them out. I'm like, it's not in the workshop manual. He goes, every body shop has that. I'm not a body shop, and I'm trying to fix my own car. So we had him rewrite the workshop manual, put that in there. But, so I never fixed that. Because, what do? Do you fill it in and then you paint it? Can you spot a small piece? Will it discolor over time? Or you just leave the doggone thing and leave it that way? Tell a story. Or at least paint it white or something like that, right? So,
the splitter on mine, and I was doing it in my garage, and I was, like you, having all kinds of trouble.
yeah.
Fortunately, I have a friend that works at a body shop. I said, can you come over here?
Yeah. I mean, those guys do that all day long, right? So Boss 302, Boss is, right? You got the poster up there. So 69, 70, 71, backward stripe, hockey stripe. That one came out of Ohio. That's got 47,000 original miles on it, but the hood's been painted. You can see it's kind of a different color, and you can see it swirl marks where they sand it. And then this is starting, the original paint's starting to get cracky and stuff like that, but only the hood's been painted. It's got a leather wrap steering wheel that I can't figure out. I didn't think it came from the factory that way, but somebody said it did. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I don't remember that it's an option. But whatever it is, it's been on there forever. So I've left it on, put new tires on it. I just haven't driven it yet. This one, the 70 came from a body shop here in town. And, when you own your own body shop, you can make the car really nice, right? So they did that. Then you get into the big body, the 71 351 Boss. And that's fun to drive. It's actually painted Porsche red. That one came out of, it was a Texas car, but I bought it here in Michigan. The guy was moving back, and he didn't want to take it with him. And it's a little bit too red. The original Ford is more orange. You'll see it down the road, but it's too nice to redo it. So that kind of stuff, you just leave it alone and enjoy the car. 12 and 13 Bosses. So the funny part is we worked on these. There was 5 of us inside the company called the Maverick Committee. John Clore was one, Bill Cook, a couple other guys. And we were there to help them decide what should the horsepower be. We knew it had to be more than the GT, less than the Shelby, and kind of put it in its position. And so we worked on and off with that kind of stuff. Of course, in 2010, as we're working to bring these out, I'm thinking these are going to skyrocket, right, when these new Bosses come out. So I didn't have those. So between 10 and 12, I bought those 3 before the prices went up. These came out. Of course, those prices went absolutely nowhere. So they're just, the same price they were before, so I could have waited. But it gave me an excuse to buy the Bosses. So Laguna, this one, you can see group number 4 on it. Sue and I, this is what we learned to track with, was this one. And we started out at Hastings, Nebraska. A friend of mine owns the track out there, so we tracked that. Then we came back. She wanted to do it again. We went out to Waterford a couple of times, and she kept saying, hey, let's go out to the track, let's go out to the track. I'm like, you know what? Rather than keep using my cars, let's get your own. So we bought her a race car, and that's in the trailer outside. And then I thought, well, if she gets a car, I get a car. So I bought a car, and then we had to buy a trailer, right? And you know how it goes from there. But so we're still tracking. We were out, like I said, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday out at Gingerman for a couple of days, having some fun out there. So, and of course, Scott, the guy with the dark horse, he's got a car also, and so does Josh. Scott's the fastest. I mean, you can't even. I followed him, did a lead and follow, and I said, you really need to slow down so I can at least follow you. And he did. He did a good job so I could learn. Josh is the second fastest, and then you have us old guys, right, that are behind him. So the bullets, we'll talk about these minutes. So you got the 01, the 08, and the 19. Yep. I got that one cracked, and the Hertz car I got it cracked this year. The problem is I haven't looked to see if I can get the windshield because it has a horse up here. So I don't know. So if I can, I'll replace it. If I can't, I'm keeping the crack until I figure out what to do. So I haven't even looked. You can? Oh, phenomenal. So and the problem is if you fix it, you're gonna get another crack. This is Michigan. You guys, I saw your post. Right? It is rough. You can tell.
We thought it was worse this year than it's been.
Well, when you came up 75, yeah. So right when you come over that first 15 to 20 miles, really bad. And then you see all the work going on and stuff like that. But even before the work, once you got past the 20-mile mark, it was better as long as you weren't in the right-hand lane. And so you drive in the middle or the left, it's a lot better. But give us another 5 years, it'll be better, and then we'll be starting again. So Al Rogers, I don't know if any of you guys know Al Rogers from Freeze Frame Photography. This was his car. He bought this. Now, this has been on display for about 5 years here. I'm always going to buy Al's car. He knew it. We called it our car because one day he was going to sell it. So he goes, put it out there, really nice. So this year he decided he was selling his Lightning and this one. I sold his Lightning, and then he sold me this year. He bought it when he retired from Ford at 55. He walked it down the line. He got all kinds of pictures and everything. He brought it over here and so it's been in, he drove it a little bit, he had it stored somewhere else, brought it over here in 12. It has not moved from this garage since 2012. It has 643 miles on it. So I bought that finally from him. I put the battery back in it, fired it up, smooth as can be. So obviously you stable or something in it back in.
What number did you say it was?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to look. Okay. We'll have to look. But it's here. So I haven't driven it. When I went down to Cincinnati to your deal down there, I was going to drive this. I ended up driving this, but I was going to drive this, but I thought, boy, it hasn't been out in 10 years. I should probably drive it around first just to make sure, right? And it probably would have made it without any issues, unlike that one there. This is number 4. Sean Kiernan is number 2. The Barrett guy is number 1, I think. And then, so the first 7 of these, we built the bodies, primed them, painted them, and we took them off the line. And then we waited for the Barrett Jackson guy who got number 1 to be able to come into town, and then we inserted them back in the assembly line and finished the cars. So I told Kevin Marty, I said, this will be interesting to see what the build date technically is on these, because 1 through 7 will be way after, right, 8 through whenever, and then until we insert them back in the line. Now it's funny because chassis number and car number on this one in 19 is the same. Now, like the 22 Shelby, the GT500, chassis number is the first one that's being built. Like chassis 1 is the first one. It's not VIN number 1. So the VINs come in, right, when you have all the parts and pieces and stuff like that. So that Shelby over there is actually VIN number 1, but it is not chassis 1. It's chassis, 800 or whatever. So now people can say, oh, I got chassis number 1. Oh, I got VIN number 1, or whatever, whatever the occasion is. So for some reason, we don't line them up anymore because we don't always have all the options at the time. So the red, white, and blue, so you're going to see there's 5. So we made Pintos, we made Mavericks, and we made Mustangs in 1972 called Sprints for the Olympics. So they're all red, white, and blue. This one I just got out of paint about a year ago. I'm slowly assembling the Pinto back together. And the Fastback I just bought, I have a Project 1 in the back. I'm learning that if you can find one done, it saves about 3 years of your time trying to get it restored. So if I can do that and they're decent. This guy was a body and paint guy, so he did a really nice job on it. The mechanicals are okay. The headliner needs some work and stuff like that. So he didn't quite finish it, but the body work and stuff is really nice. So you'll see those. We'll talk about the Maverick and the convertibles. Then you got kind of a hodgepodge right here. In 71, we made 429 cars. So in the Mustang, only 1 year did we put a 429 Cobra Jet in it. Not including the Boss 429s in 69, 70, but in 71 was the only year for the 429. So we made about 1,800 total. We made 42 convertibles with 429s. That's one of the 42. You're going to find that I like the big body 429s, like Tony. Tony's had his forever. And they're big cars. You either like them or you hate them, right? That's just the way the big Mustangs are. So you're going to see a bunch of 429s, some projects and some regular ones. This green one here is a 429. It's not a Mach 1. It's just a fastback, so it has a standard grille, one mirror, right? Nothing special. It has been painted on the sides. The top halves have never been painted, so a fairly original car. On top, Mustang 2, so 75, that's a V8 Mach 1. 76 is a Stallion. That's a one-year-only Stallion Mustang. We'll show you I have a Pinto and a Maverick to match that. 78 Cobra there. We'll show you some of the other ones. There's a 77 Cobra there. Rick asked about this car. A friend of ours bought this car. I think Lee bought it in 91 or something like that from his boss out of New York or something. And we used to show cars together, and I told Lee, I said, if you ever sell this, it's a K-code fastback, not a GT, 4-speed. And well, back then, turquoise was an ugly color. Now it's an acceptable color, right? So I told him, if you ever sell it, I want it. So I bought it from Lee in 99. And he went to a Galaxy 428, a big car, which his wife still has. And so I sold it, bought it back. So I've had this car, I don't know. I drove that this year. That's a ball to drive. The pink convertible, that's my daughter's car. That's originally a silver car. When she was 10, she wanted a pink car. I told them they didn't make them. And then I told her, if you find one, I'll buy it. And of course, we didn't have the internet. We had Wheeler Dealer back then and all that kind of stuff. So lo and behold, she finds this thing on Wheeler Dealer, and I'm not buying that. And my wife goes, hey, you said, she finds it, you buy it. So I bought my 10-year-old daughter a pink car, and up in Wisconsin. So that's an original silver, like I said. That ugly one on the top there, that actually is a real pink car from the factory, yeah. So I found that in Baltimore. So I'm going to restore that. So I said, why don't we sell that? I'll restore that. My daughter knows me. She goes, how about you restore that? Then I'll sell that, because it'll be a few years before you get to that one. So I'm going to do that one when I'm done with the 429 Lime car. Here's a 429 car here up on top. That came out of, it's a California car, came out of Canada. It's a project car. I got hit over on this side back in the 80s. The guy parked it. It hasn't been driven since. Still has original Autolite shocks on it, original Ford exhaust system, all kinds of original stuff on it. I don't like silver, so who knows what I may get to it, I may not. Who knows? If I do, it's getting painted maroon, though, because I like maroon. This little orange thing here is rotted out, but it is a 67 GT 390 4-speed air conditioning, upper lower consoles, deluxe interior, the rib tail light panel, the whole ball of wax, and it is Acapulco blue. And you can see the blue underneath the orange. And you can see the bungee cord that we pulled it out of the guy's garage in Beckley, West Virginia. So he got it from Alaska. I think it actually came from Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma, went to Alaska, and then I bought it out of Beckley, West Virginia. And I was going to restore it, but I'm debating if I just sell it, because I have that 67 Shelby down there, and I really don't need two 67s, but every time I go to sell it, I keep thinking the Acapulco blue, oh, it'll look really nice. But am I really going to get around to restoring it? I don't know. The ice cream truck, you'll see this around. You'll see it tomorrow at Woodward down at Mustang Alley. We'll be selling ice cream for charity for Ford Performance, for JDRF. And then Sunday, you'll see it at the Mustang show if you're up for that. New ice cream truck. We need more than one. We were up to 6. And I'm like, this is stupid because it's getting in my way now. So we sold 2. I got 1 more to sell, and we'll use this one and this one in the trailer. That's all we really need. 429 on the trailer. Bodywork was done 15 years ago. Straight as can be. Black car, white interior, 429, 4-speed air, power windows, whole ball of wax. He never got it painted. Ran out of money. So I just bought that a couple years ago. Got all the pieces, engine, trans, everything for that car. The white, ugly one up there, 429 car. The Sprints, we talked about the Sprints, right? So here's a convertible. That's a Project Coupe. That convertible has been touched up. It's an original car, but touched up with aerosol paint and some of the conditions. They only made 50 of those cars. They made one for each state, and what happens is Miss Michigan, Miss Ohio, Miss whatever, Illinois, they all went to Washington, D.C. for the Cherry Blossom Festival and sat on the back of the car. So all 50 Miss states, right, drove in the Cherry Blossom. That happens to be Virginia's car. Rex Turner owned that, and he's the one that wrote the book on the Sprints. So he sold that about 6-7 years ago, so I picked up that car. Nice car. Nice to work on a car that has no rust on it and stuff too. Bolts come off nicely. Mystic Chrome, Mystic, that's got 7,000 miles, that's got 19. Lots of them get flat, yeah. Those tires actually belong on the pace car, by the way. This one actually came out of Cincinnati, right? So Mike, was it Darwin? Dalton. I think it was Mike. So he called me about 6-7 years ago and said, hey, there's a guy down here in Cincinnati, not in the club, wants to sell a Mystic. You still looking for, or Mystic Chrome, you still looking for one? Heck yeah, I'm looking for it. That's how I got the car. So it was through the club down there. It is, it really is. Convertible and everything like that. And it was a good price. The 68 convertible, I just picked this up. I didn't need it, but it was, my neighbor was doing a house inspection. The gentleman was in a nursing home. Ernie was the guy's name. Ernie's 86 years old. He bought this car. He said new, almost new. He lived in California all his life, Michigan for the last couple of years. It has never been driven in the rain. It is all original paint, interior, top, and everything. It's got a lot of miles on it. It's got the red oxide is still underneath the car with all the drips and everything on the car. The quarter panel has been painted on this side, and you'll see in the back on the deck lid they must have feathered it in or whatever. But it's a weird car. So it's got all these options on it. Right? In California, you don't even need air conditioning. This car's got air conditioning. It's got tilt-away wheel. It's got the pinstriping, the nice wheels, the luxe interior. Yeah, the whole ball of wax. It's a J code, but it was an automatic to begin with. He switched it over. And then on this side of the car, it says 302, and on that side of the car, it says 289. Right when they were moving over, right from 289 to 302. Well, then I sent Kevin a note and said, hey, can you run the VIN for me? He comes back and he says, hey, that car got delivered to Warner Brothers directly, right up front. So I said, really? So now we're trying to figure out, because when Ernie bought it, it was like 3 months after the build date. So couldn't have been in a movie, right? Because movies take a long time. So we're thinking either a commercial or a brochure or something weird like that. But notice on here it has the rivet things for like a boot or something. And I'm thinking, why are they on the door? So I asked Ernie, I'm like, and they're inside the car. And he goes, it was like that when I bought it, so maybe it had a tonneau cover. And I said, well, you still got the tonneau cover? No, I don't remember getting the tonneau cover. Okay, fine. So when Ernie sold his house, his neighbor went through all the boxes in the basement. They found the tonneau cover. So it has a tonneau cover, and it zips down the middle, so you can leave it on and still drive the car. So, yeah, it's really kind of cool. So what we don't know is what commercial or where it was done. So we'll do some research, but kind of neat. I know it'll be polished out and stuff like that, but nice little story for that. Hertz Shelby, so 16, 06, 66. Drove the 06. This one, I think, has a crack in the windshield. Yeah. See that on the left-hand side?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, or the right side just happened this year when I drove it. Fun car to drive, but what does Shelby do again with Hertz? They come out with another Hertz edition for 22. I don't have any more room, right? So do we need to get one? Yeah, probably. Don't know where we'll put it yet. I'm not getting the real fancy GT500 one. That's just over the top. But we'll get one of the black ones when they come up for sale, and I don't know, stick it in the aisleway or something like that. 22. They're still renting them right now. Yeah, still renting them. Well, the problem, we thought about that. The problem with the lifts, is when we do tours, people won't walk underneath the lifts to look at the cars. So we decided that's enough lifts. Now they do make triples, so we're thinking, maybe you could do a triple, put the projects way up on top. So Pinto, matching van. My wife will not sit in either one of those two. We had the Pinto first, and it's a ball to drive. I mean, it's not real fast or anything, but it's a California car. It'll need paint, but it's great patina the way it is. And then my friend found the matching van out in either Oregon or Utah or something like that, and he sends it to me, and I'm like, no, I'm not collecting Econolines. He goes, yeah, but it matches. It's white. It's got the colors to it. And so we bought it. It's got 43,000 original miles, and it's got a blue interior, little flowers on the seats, and it's got a sign on the back. So they have the captain chairs. Remember the captain chairs? And the sign says, "Do not swivel while driving." Right? And it actually has this sticker on the side of the seats, like you're gonna go, spin around while you're driving or something like that. So those are neat vehicles. So the Mustang 2, I don't have a spot yet. I'm gonna get all the Mustang 2s together. That's a 77 Cobra. The orange one's a 78 King. There's actually an avocado one down below over there. That's a 74. That's got less than 3,000 original miles on it. So avocado and avocado and avocado. And but back in the 70s, that's a color we had, right? That was a popular color back there. So the Foxes go down the middle, 93, 92 and a half summer edition, 90 LX, the 7-Up car. You guys know the story on the 7-Up. The blue one here, I just got this out of Texas. This is a 429 Super Cobra Jet with 391 locker rear end in it. I didn't have a coupe. I had the fastbacks and the convertibles. So, yeah.
How many did it make?
Coupes,
Yeah.
I want to say about 400, something like that, I think. And it's just a plain Jane. There's no striping on or anything like that. It's just, somebody just, ticked off the box and stuff like that with the 420.
What's the name of this color?
I think it's bright blue metallic. I think that's the bright blue. Yeah. They have a medium blue, but I think it's a little darker. So just a base car, just a coupe with a big motor in it. Absolutely. So good driver car. So the Shelbys go from here down to my red one there. That's a 22. That's VIN number 1, like I said, and the company still takes care of me. And I had a red 20. Dan, where'd Dan go? I didn't win Dan's auction. Dan was, his auction was this car, wasn't it? Wasn't it a Brit? Yeah. Yeah, and so I didn't win the auction, so I had to go buy that color car, but so here it is. And they're fine. It's an automatic. I love the car. Before I left Ford, the intent was these were supposed to be 800 horsepower and a manual trans. And they came up at 767. We came up a little bit short, and it's an automatic. And I'm like, I don't want an automatic. And it is cool to have the paddle shifters, but if you're driving it on the road regularly, when you take off from light and you go to shift in a second, the wheels turn. You're going around the corner. Guess what? You're trying to do this. So I'm like, I don't like that. So I'd rather have a manual trans. This one, the 13, is 662 on the horsepower, manual trans, supercharged. Second gear, you're doing 90 miles an hour, and it is still pulling. That is just a phenomenal. Not as fast as that, but you're controlling that one, right? That one is, I have a hard time putting that one away after we drive that. But that's a ticket waiting to happen. It really is. KR, 70, 69, and 68. The KR, this was the first one delivered in the U.S., not because it's me, it's because it was the last one loaded on the truck that day. So they had 4 of them coming in from Shelby. Mark Fields, one of our vice presidents and presidents at the time, they had 2 in there for a couple of Detroit Lions, and then mine was the one on the back. So mine got unloaded on Friday at Village Ford, and I went down there and bought it. Theirs all got unloaded on Saturday at Ford World headquarters. So first one unloaded and sold, so to speak, but they're all the same. 70, 69. This is an 89 Celine. That's the one that's sitting out. I'm driving it this week. 86. There's an 85.5 SVO. That's out right now, getting a rack and pinion resealed on it. And then 84 and 83. Here's the Maverick Sprint. I don't have, like I said, right now, they're just kind of in the aisles until I figure out where to put them. 70, 69, basically the same cars, right? 70, the only difference is they put a black stripe on it and a chin spoiler. Those were leftover 69s. So they changed the carburetor, changed the VIN, and that's the only way you can really tell the difference. Technically, it's a 69, just left over. 68, if you're in the Mustang Club in Cincinnati back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, the club, it's an interesting club down there. They got me to restore this. I ended up doing concourse trailered. Wasn't the intent in the beginning, but with Farrell and Al and the rest of you guys, we ended up doing this car. So I bought it in 91. Paul Fessler from Paul's Automotive did all the bodywork and paint. And then I got it back from them in 94. I got transferred to Michigan in 94, brought all the pieces up here, finished it up here in 97, showed it until 2002 through MCA, sold it to a buddy of mine, Monty Seawright in South Carolina. He kept it in his museum. And in 2019, he was moving cars around, asked me if I want to buy it back. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to buy that back. So I had a 2014 Hertz Penske rental car, one of the executive cars with the manual trans. He wanted that. And I'm like, that's not for sale. He goes, yeah, but you're not getting that unless I get that. I'm like, really? He goes, that's the deal. So I sold that and gave him some cash and got my red one back. When I restored it, it had 56,994 on the odometer. Today it has 56,994 on the odometer. It has been on and off the trailer only, never been driven on the road. So I'm going to go drive it on the road. I've been trying to do it now for 3 years. I get it fired up and I start moving it out and I'm like, can't do it. Goes right back in. So I'm at least going to do it around the complex. You know what? It really needs to be driven. I mean, it's been 30 years or whatever, but I just can't seem to get it out. This one here, this one. 14 Hertz Penske rental car. Yeah, it had a bright yellow stripe down.
You need a volunteer.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's probably, the thing is did I put it together the right way 30 years ago, right? Because I did the engine, I did the trans, we did it all, and I'd be driving around in circles where I took it 20 miles home. That's for sure. So, pace cars, MIS pace car, special edition. Jack Roush actually drove that as a pace car. Daytona, there was 50 of these made with glass roofs. There was one convertible made that was a prototype. It is became our marketing car for it. You'll notice that it has the Laguna package there. It actually has side exhaust. This is a 2010. It was a 10 for the 11 race, I think. Anyways, it had those before the Boss came out. So they were prototyping pieces on this one for that. So I actually tagged this when it first came out, and then I forgot about it because we hung on to it for 5 years at the company. And then they called and goes, hey, you still want that convertible? And I'm going, what convertible? And then they told me, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. So here it is here. And then Indy pace car, 94, 79, 64 and a half. This thing is a 2002 Cobra. But if you ask Ford Motor Company, we never built Cobras in 02 because we had a horsepower problem in, I think, 2000, 2001. We said it was this, and it really was this. So I think we had an intake issue. So a couple of lawsuits and stuff like that. So I think we had to redo a bunch of stuff. So we're bringing out the Terminator for 03. There's no way we're going to build an 02. So we had these parts left over. So we built 100 of these for Australia. to convert them to right-hand drive. So we build them, 100 go over. This is the training vehicle. We train all the dealers. All the other ones get converted to right-hand drive. They shut the line down. They never do this car. They're not going to redo the line for one car. So this car sat over there all these years as a left-hand drive car. Australia can't sell a left-hand drive car over there. So this is the only O2 Cobra that's left-hand drive. So you're going to see Nick Terzies, I think, at the Ford Performance Tent. Nick will tell you this was his first program that he did. So he was down here when they were doing the car covers and the Recaro seats. So he goes, let me tell you about the car. The exhaust system was too loud for Australia. So if you look inside, there's a pipe within a pipe in the exhaust. Quiet it down. He said, the driver's seat is a manual seat. The passenger seat is the power seat. So we open up the door, sure enough, because it's going to get converted, right? The headlights are Australian only, something in the way the U.S. was. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was the colors. Maybe it was the smoke or maybe the headlamps, but those are made for Australia. And then inside here, now the emblems are missing. I have some of the stuff. Inside here is wiring because they had, so Dwayne drove this on the road. The other one, Dick and Dwayne drag raced. They did Superstock class. They went to the Gator Nationals with it, did a lot of stuff in Indy. I mean, they got a whole history. A friend of ours from Cincinnati, Rich Steinbrink, bought the car. He had no idea on the history of the car. So they were going to restore it back to here. It only had 737 original miles on it. So Rich unfortunately passed away, and he sold it to another friend of ours, Mike Buchanan. So Mike Buchanan had it for 10 years, didn't know the history of the car, had too many projects, calls me, and he goes, you need to buy this car. I'm never going to get to it. And I'm going, me? So I'm like, I got like 8 projects. I don't need another car. So we were coming back from West Virginia with that orange thing down there, came through Cincinnati. We looked at the car, gave me the price on the car. I bought the car. So I bring it up here. Then, you know, back then, 20 years ago, right, the internet wasn't out there. So now the internet's out there. I put some stuff on some racing pages, and these guys in Ohio knew all about the car. I got photos from when it was brand new at the dealership. Immediately, still had polyglass tires on it, engines out of it, new paint job on the thing. Said Doan Ford, it's got the driver's names. They sponsored it for a year and a half. Then Dwayne and Dick bought it for $1, and they got to race it, but when they were done racing it, they were supposed to give it back to Doan Ford so they could sell it. So this was Dwayne's driving car. This car's got 35,000 original miles on it. It was restored back in the 90s to thoroughbred standards, and it was shown in MCA, and then it sat in a guy's museum in Arkansas, J.D. Brotherton, who owns Brodix Racing Heads. So it sat in his museum all the time, and it came up for sale. So I'm working on the other car. It's out for body and paint right now, and we're going to paint it back to when they had the car. We're putting it back to the race history. This comes up for sale. I'm bringing a trailer, and Dwayne calls me, and he goes, hey, our other car's up for sale. I'm like, no way. He goes, yeah. So I said, how do you know it's yours? And he goes, I got the VIN. And he goes, and I still got the original title. So, so back then, who knows what happened to titles. So sure enough, this was his car. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I got one. I don't need the other one. And I'm thinking, that'd be kind of a cool story. So then, it's getting bid up. It's on the last day, and I get a call from this guy in New York, John. And I had bought an engine from him, a Super Cobra Jet motor for the drag car from John. And John goes, hey, are you bidding on that blue car? I said, why? He goes, well, I'm bidding on it too. And I said, all right, well then I'll stop bidding, you bid. He goes, well, I'm only going to this price. So if it goes over that, you can bid. So here it is. So it went over that price, right? And so we end up with the car. So it makes a really good story. I've driven it around the parking lot and stuff. This one has to be driven this year, but it won't go on the highway with 430 gears. This thing is just gonna fly. It's gonna fly. So, so I'll show you. So Cobra. So John, you all know John Clore, right? So John is a Mustang II fanatic. You like pinball? Pinball machines? Did you ever play pinball? Want to play pinball? You know where my office is? If you're bored, because there's a bunch of adults sitting out here, right? If you go through this door, make a right, go all the way to my office at the end. On the right-hand side, it's already turned on as a pinball. Just hit the start button. Go see if you can beat the high score. If you want, it's up to you. So you won't win. I won't win. It's in my office. So there you go. Don't forget your quarters. No, I'm just kidding. So John, right, is a Mustang too, right? He's the guy, he's the god and everything. And you talk to him about Pintos and people, oh, it's the same chassis. That has just burned him. He's had to explain that for 20 years. 2 different chassis, it's not the same. They're 2 different cars. I'm down in Gatlinburg about 10 years ago driving through, and this was out on Hot Rod Run or whatever their big show was. I saw this. Last year, it comes up for sale. I'm like, I know that car. It's got a V8, it's got a 5-speed, narrow 9-inch rear end and stuff, and it's Mustang 2 front end, Pinto back end. So I take a picture of it, and I send it to John Cloyne. I'm like, you've been lying to us for 20 years? You said that they don't match up, they're 2 different vehicles. I'm like, look at this, John. They're together. And where the hell did you get that? I said, no, it's in Gatlinburg. So then I had to buy it, right? Just so I could just, see John, here's what it looks like. So as it turns out, the guy was a body man. These have been moved out 2 inches, right, to make it fit this, right, the Mustang 2 clip. This is a Pinto front fender, Mustang 2 front fender, Pinto back end. If you look down here, you can see where the guy has extended the door out into where the fender is and made all that. I mean, he just did beautiful body. And he did it like 20 years ago. Wasn't a real good detail guy, right? There's a gap in here and stuff, but it's got Mustang 2 seats in it and stuff like that. It's a ball to drive. The window, it's plexiglass because how do you make that, right? So here it sits. So now John wants to buy it. I'm like, when I'm done with it, you can buy it. So I said, but you've been lying to us for all these years. There's a Lime car. It's a 429. That's what I'm restoring now. Would have been done at the beginning of ice cream season, but I didn't make it, and now it'll wait till after ice cream season. Should be done by the end of the year. So I'm just finishing up the trans stuff, and we'll put all the accessories on, put the hood back on, and fire it up. So by the end of this year, it'll be up and running, back in the collection, start on the next one. So in the front, you can feel free. There's 3 or 4 offices up there. On the left, there's a room with a bunch of models and Mustangs, and then there's an anniversary room from the 20th to the 55th, some SVT room, and then my office got just, it's stuff that you can. And a lot of people have given me a lot of stuff. So if you have given me anything along the way, and it's in the office, come see me. My wife made up little business cards that says courtesy of, and we'll have you fill your name out and then put it wherever the piece is at. Yeah, because there's so much stuff that people have given us over the time. If you haven't given me anything, don't. There is no more room, please. People still kind of, and I'm like, sometimes it ends up in a free tip. No, I'm just kidding.
Did they make a Fox body GT350?
So the 84 anniversary says GT350 on it. Yeah. So that was a lawsuit in itself because we didn't own GT350 at the time. Carol did. So we put it on our car and then we got sued. And I think we battled that thing out for about a year. And then I think he let us have it.
I have a friend in Cincinnati who's got one.
Yeah, so it's an 84 and a half 20th anniversary car. Yeah. Yeah. Hatchbacks, convertibles, all white with kind of a reddish maroon interior. Yeah. Yep, so it'll say GT350. The convertible's right down there on that one. It'll look just like that. So, yeah. So that's kind of the tour. The dark horse is here.